The massive ships appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning. They simply materialized in Earth's orbit, their dark metal hulls blocking out the stars. 12 ships, each larger than the biggest city on Earth, hung silently in the sky like metal mountains. Admiral Tom Wilson stood in Earth Defense Force headquarters, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth. The massive screen before him showed multiple views of the alien vessels. Around him, the command center buzzed with controlled panic as officers rushed between stations, sharing data and sending urgent messages. "Sir, they're bigger than anything we've ever seen," said Lieutenant Mike Green, his eyes glued to the radar screen. "Each ship is about 30 miles long. Our largest aircraft carrier would look like a toy next to them." Admiral Wilson put down his coffee. After 30 years in the military, he had planned for many situations. Alien invasion wasn't one of them. "Are they doing anything?" he asked. "No, sir. They're just waiting." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Send out the first contact message. All frequencies, all languages." For 3 hours, Earth broadcast messages of peace and friendship into space. The alien ships remained silent. Then, without warning, every screen, phone, and computer on Earth flickered to life. A face appeared, almost human, but not quite. The skin was too perfect, the eyes too bright. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am High Commander Marcus of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. Your planet has been selected for integration into the Empire. Resistance is unnecessary. Your primitive technology cannot harm us." Admiral Wilson stepped forward. "This is Admiral Wilson of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact, but we do not accept demands for surrender." The alien commander smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Primitive species always resist. It is expected. "Scan their technology," he ordered someone off-screen. Minutes passed. The tension in the command center grew. Officers watched their screens as invisible scans swept across Earth's cities. Finally, a new voice spoke from the alien transmission. "High Commander, their most advanced computers still use silicon. Their vehicles still burn fossil fuels. They have no faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are based on chemical explosives and simple projectiles." Commander Marcus laughed. "You see, your children playing with sticks. The Empire has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Our smallest ship could destroy your largest city with a single shot." But Admiral Wilson noticed something interesting. Despite their advanced technology, the aliens followed strict protocols. They scanned first. They made demands. They followed procedures. Maybe, just maybe, that could be useful. "Commander Marcus," Wilson said carefully, "if we are so primitive, why send 12 of your largest ships? Surely one would be enough." The alien commander's perfect face showed a flicker of annoyance. "Imperial protocol requires a full battle fleet for all planetary integrations. We do not make exceptions." Wilson smiled. They had rules. They had procedures. And people with strict rules could be surprised. "Humanity respectfully declines integration at this time," Wilson said firmly. "We request negotiations under Article 7 of Imperial Law regarding the rights of developing civilizations." Commander Marcus's face showed shock for just a moment. "How do you know of Article 7? "We don't," Wilson admitted. "I guessed, but your reaction just confirmed it exists." The alien commander's perfect face finally showed real emotion. Anger. Very clever, for a primitive, but it changes nothing. "You have 24 hours to surrender, or we will demonstrate our power. Choose wisely, Admiral." The transmission cut off. In the sudden silence, Lieutenant Green whispered, "Sir, what do we do now?" Admiral Wilson looked at the massive ships on the screen. "We call an emergency meeting of all Earth's leaders. And then," he smiled slightly, "then we show them why they should have sent more ships." "But sir, their technology is advanced, yes, but they're predictable. They follow rules. And in all their scans, they missed something important. Wilson turned to face his officers. They missed that humans are really good at breaking rules and finding new ways to fight. They want to play by their book. Fine. We'll write our own. Around the world, as news of the ultimatum spread, humanity began to prepare. They had one day to get ready for the fight of their lives. And despite the odds, despite the massive ships in orbit, there was a growing feeling of determination. The Empire was about to learn that primitive didn't mean helpless. The world's leaders gathered in an underground bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was tense as Admiral Wilson showed them the recordings of the alien ships. On the screens around them, the 24-hour countdown timer kept ticking. "They're not lying about their power," Wilson said, pointing to the data. "One of their ships could probably destroy New York in seconds, but they have a weakness. They're proud. Too proud." The President of the United States leaned forward. "Explain." "They follow strict rules. Everything they do is by their book. And thanks to our little trick about Article 7, we now know something very important." Wilson paused. "Their laws say they have to accept formal challenges from any species they try to conquer." "What kind of challenge?" asked the Chinese premier. Before Wilson could answer, the bunker's speakers crackled. Commander Marcus's face appeared on all screens. "Your time grows short, primitives. Have you made your choice?" Admiral Wilson stepped forward. "We have. Earth formally challenges the Empire under the ancient rites of combat." The alien commander's perfect face froze. For several seconds, he said nothing. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Angry. "How? How do you know of the ancient rites?" "Let's say we have our ways," Wilson replied calmly. "Do you accept, or does the mighty Empire fear fighting primitives?" The other world leaders watched in amazement. Wilson was playing a dangerous game, but it was working. The alien commander's face showed real emotion now, a mix of anger and confusion. "You don't know what you're doing," Marcus said. "The ancient rites mean combat between champions. Your primitive weapons against our advanced technology. You would lose everything." "Then you have nothing to fear," Wilson pushed. "Unless you're scared." In the background of the alien transmission, other aliens were talking quickly in their own language. Commander Marcus turned away from the screen for a moment, obviously arguing with someone. "They have to accept," Wilson whispered to the leaders. "Their own laws demand it. And when they do, we get to set some of the terms." Finally, Marcus turned back. "Very well. Under the ancient rites of combat, we accept your challenge. Name your terms." Wilson smiled. The trap was set. 3 battles. 1 in space, 1 on land, 1 at sea. If we win 2 out of 3, Earth stays free. If you win, we join your empire without resistance. "Agreed," Marcus said quickly. "Too quickly. We will use our most advanced ships and warriors. You may use whatever primitive tools you have. One more thing," Wilson added. "No planet-destroying weapons. The ancient rites forbid destroying what you want to conquer, don't they?" The alien commander's eye twitched. "Correct. You have studied our laws well, for primitives. But it will not save you. You have 3 days to prepare. Choose your battles carefully." The transmission ended. The room burst into noise as all the leaders started talking at once. The Russian president stood up. "Admiral, are you insane? We can't beat their technology." "No," Wilson agreed. "We can't beat their technology. But we can beat their thinking." He pressed a button, and new images appeared on the screens. "Look at how they fight. Every move is perfect. Every tactic comes from their battle plans. They're like a computer. They can only do what they're programmed to do." "And that helps us how?" someone asked. "Because humans are messy. We improvise. We try crazy things. We break rules." Wilson pointed to various military leaders in the room. "I need our best pilots for the space battle, but not the ones who follow rules. I want the ones who make their own. For the land battle, we need guerrilla fighters. And for the sea, he smiled. Wait until they see what our submarines can do. The Chinese premier nodded slowly. They expect us to fight like them, to follow their rules of war. Exactly, Wilson said. But we're going to show them how Earth fights. No fancy technology, just human creativity and courage. And one more thing they don't know about us. What's that? Asked the president. Humans fight hardest when someone tells them they can't win. Wilson looked at the alien ships on the screen. They think they're getting an easy victory. Instead, they're getting a lesson in why you should never underestimate Earth. Around the world, as news of the challenge spread, military forces began to mobilize. Not for a normal war, but for something new. Something that would show the galaxy why humans were anything but primitive. The real fight was about to begin. The first battle was set to take place in space. 3 Imperial ships faced off against Earth's hastily prepared fleet. Commander Marcus watched from his command ship, barely hiding his amusement at the sight of Earth's primitive vehicles. They sent up regular rockets, he laughed to his crew. Not even proper space fighters. This will be over in minutes. On Earth's main space command ship, Admiral Wilson sat with his chosen pilot, Captain Jack Peters. Unlike other pilots, Jack was known for breaking rules and trying unusual tactics. That's exactly what they needed today. Remember the plan, Wilson said. Let them think they know what we're doing. Jack nodded, checking his old-style controls one last time. Around his ship, 30 other pilots waited in their vessels. None of their ships had fancy alien technology. Instead, they carried something much simpler. Battle begins in 1 minute, announced the Imperial commander. Prepare to witness real space combat. Primitives. The Imperial ships were beautiful. Their metal shells glowed with energy shields. Their weapons were powered by technology Earth couldn't even understand. They were perfect. Too perfect. Now, Wilson ordered. All 30 Earth ships launched at once. But instead of attacking, they split into weird patterns. The Imperial ships' computers tried to track them, trying to find a logic in their movements. What are they doing? Commander Marcus demanded. This isn't proper combat formation. Sir, one of his officers said, we can't predict their flight paths. They're not following any known battle patterns. Because we're not using your patterns, Jack said over the radio. We're using something older, something better. Then the Earth ships released their weapons, not missiles, not lasers, just simple metal boxes that floated in space. The Imperial ship's scanners saw them. Their computers decided they weren't threats. After all, they weren't proper weapons. That was their mistake. Light them up, ordered Wilson. All 30 boxes activated at once, releasing massive electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, the simplest way to break electronics. The Imperial ship's perfect shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. But they didn't expect something so basic. The pulses went right through. What's happening? Commander Marcus shouted as his ship's systems started failing. Our controls aren't responding. You built everything on advanced computers, Wilson replied calmly. We still know how to use manual controls. The Imperial ships drifted, their systems confused by the primitive but effective attack. Their weapons still worked, but their targeting computers were useless. They couldn't lock onto the Earth ships that were flying in patterns that made no sense to their battle computers. Impossible, Marcus yelled. You can't beat us with such primitive technology. Watch us, Jack said, leading his squad of pilots in their next move. The Earth ships, running on simple mechanical controls that weren't affected by the EMPs, flew in close. They targeted the now unshielded weak spots that Earth's scientists had discovered while studying the Imperial ship's design. Their engine cores are exposed, Jack called out. Just like we planned. Regular missiles, everyone. Keep it simple. The Imperial crews watched in horror as Earth's primitive missiles hit their expensive advanced ships. They had no defense against weapons so basic that they hadn't even considered them a threat. 3 hours later, 2 Imperial ships floated dead in space. The third barely managed to limp back to their main fleet. Commander Marcus's perfect face showed real fear now. "How?" he demanded. "How did you know our weaknesses?" Admiral Wilson's voice was calm. "We looked at your ships with simple eyes. You were so proud of your advanced technology that you forgot the basics. Sometimes the old ways work best." As Earth's fleet returned home, cheers erupted from every watching station. They had won the first battle, not with advanced technology, but with human creativity and simple solutions. "Good work, everyone," Wilson said to his tired but happy crew. "But remember, they'll be angry now. The next battle won't be so easy. They won't underestimate us again." Captain Jack grinned as he landed his ship. "Good. That means we get to show them even more of our primitive surprises." The Empire had lost the first battle, but more importantly, they had lost their sense of superiority. Now they knew that Earth wasn't going to be an easy conquest, and Earth was just getting started. After their humiliating defeat in space, the Empire chose the Amazon rainforest for the ground battle. They thought Earth's thickest jungle would be perfect for showing off their advanced combat suits and weapons. They were wrong. "Your warriors will meet ours in the designated zone," Commander Marcus announced from his ship. "We have chosen our finest soldiers, equipped with the best battle armor in the galaxy." Colonel Bill Ray, leader of Earth's ground forces, just smiled. His team wasn't wearing fancy armor. They wore simple camouflage and carried basic weapons. But they had something better. They knew the jungle. Remember, Bill told his troops, they expect a normal battle. Line up, shoot, advance. We're not going to give them that. The Imperial troops landed in a clearing, 50 soldiers in shining armor that seemed to glow. Their helmets had advanced targeting systems, and their weapons could burn through steel. "Primitive humans," their leader called out, "face us in honorable combat." No one answered. Instead, the jungle seemed to come alive. Bird calls echoed from all directions. Some were real birds. Others weren't. "Enemy forces detected," the Imperial soldiers' computers reported. Then, error. Signal lost. The humidity of the Amazon was playing havoc with their sensors. Their perfect armor, designed for the controlled environments of space stations, was starting to fog up. "Spread out in standard search formation," the Imperial commander ordered. That's when Earth's forces struck. Not with a direct attack, but with dozens of small strikes from all directions. Guerrilla warfare at its finest. A tripwire sent 2 Imperial soldiers falling into a mud pit. Their expensive armor, now covered in thick mud, started shorting out. Another soldier stepped on what looked like solid ground, only to sink into a carefully hidden pool of water. "This isn't proper combat," the Imperial commander shouted. "Face us directly." "Why?" Bill's voice came from somewhere in the trees. "Because that's what your battle computers are programmed for." More bird calls, more tricks. The Imperial soldiers' frustration grew as their advanced targeting systems couldn't lock onto enemies they couldn't see. The heat and humidity made their armor increasingly uncomfortable. Then it started to rain. A normal Amazon afternoon storm, but for the Imperial troops, it was a disaster. Their energy weapons started malfunctioning in the downpour. Their helmet displays filled with static. "Switch to backup systems," the Imperial commander ordered. "They're not working either, sir. Nothing's working right in this mess." That's when Earth's forces launched their main attack. Not with advanced weapons, but with simple nets, ropes, and well-aimed shots at the joints of the Imperial armor, places where even advanced technology needed to bend and move. "My suit's locked up," one Imperial soldier cried. "I can't move," shouted another. In their panic, the Imperial troops broke formation. That was their final mistake. Earth's soldiers emerged from their hiding spots, moving quickly through the rain and mud they'd trained in for years. 20 minutes later, it was over. 45 Imperial soldiers were trapped, their amazing armor turned into expensive prison cells by mud, water, and mechanical failures. The other 5 had managed to retreat to their landing ship. Colonel Bill walked up to the Imperial commander, who was stuck in his mud-covered armor. "Impossible," the commander said. "We had superior technology, superior training. You had superior everything." Bill agreed, wiping rain from his face. "Except knowledge of the battlefield. You fight like machines. We fight like humans." The rescue ships came down to collect the defeated Imperial troops. As they were lifted away, Commander Marcus's voice boomed from above. "This means nothing. The sea battle will decide everything. And this time, we will not underestimate you." Bill looked at his celebrating troops, soldiers from different countries who had worked together, using the planet's natural conditions to defeat an advanced army. "No," he said quietly. "You still don't understand. It's not about estimating our strength. It's about understanding that humans don't fight like you expect. And for the sea battle," he smiled, "let's just say water is full of surprises." The Imperial ships disappeared into the clouds. Below, Earth's soldiers began cleaning their simple but effective weapons, ready to help with the final battle that would decide their planet's fate. They had won on land. They had won in space. Now they just needed one more victory to show the galaxy that being primitive wasn't a weakness, it was their strength. While Earth prepared for the final battle at sea, something interesting was happening in a secret lab under the Rocky Mountains. Dr. Anna Brown and her team of scientists were studying a prize from their previous victories, a damaged Imperial battle suit. "Look at this," Anna said, pointing to the suit's inner workings. "They made everything so complicated that it can only work one way. Their perfect technology is actually their biggest weakness." Admiral Wilson stood watching as the scientists worked. After 2 victories against the Empire, he knew the final battle would be the hardest. They needed every advantage they could get. "Can we use any of it?" he asked. Anna smiled, pulling out a simple notebook filled with drawings. "No computers allowed. They couldn't risk the Empire picking up their signals." "Better," she said. "We can make it work against them. Look at this." She pointed to a part of the suit's control system. "Their machines only think in straight lines. Everything has to be perfect. But that's not how nature works. That's not how humans work." In another part of the lab, technicians were testing pieces of the Imperial ship they had captured in space. Every test showed the same thing. The Empire's technology couldn't handle anything unexpected. "It's like they forgot the basics while making everything advanced," said Mark, one of the engineers. He held up a piece of Imperial metal. "This stuff is amazing, but it fails if you just get it wet and run electricity through it." They never thought anyone would try something so simple. Admiral Wilson watched as the team worked through the night. They weren't trying to copy the Imperial technology. Instead, they were finding ways to break it, using Earth's primitive methods. "Their ships will be watching for energy weapons," Anna explained. "They'll be ready for missiles, but they won't be looking for old radio waves or simple electrical currents. Those are too basic for their sensors to worry about." The team worked faster as news came in about the Empire's preparation for the sea battle. The alien ships were gathering over the Pacific Ocean, their weapons ready for anything, except what Earth was planning. "Got it," Anna shouted late that night. On her workbench sat what looked like a simple metal box with some wires. "This will send out a signal that makes their systems see things that aren't there. Nothing fancy, just noise that confuses their computers." "Will it work through water?" Wilson asked. "Even better in water," Mark added. "Water distorts everything. Their perfect sensors won't know what's real and what isn't." The next day, Wilson presented their findings to Earth's military leaders. The room was filled with hand-drawn plans and simple devices, technology that looked primitive but was designed to cause chaos in the Empire's advanced systems. "They think advanced means better," Wilson explained. "But sometimes simple is smarter. Their computers can't handle something they're not programmed for, and they're definitely not programmed for what we're about to do." "How do we know this will work?" someone asked. Anna stepped forward with her box of tricks. Because it already is. She pointed to a screen showing the Imperial ships above. We've been testing small versions of these devices. Look at their flight patterns. Their sensors are picking up ghost signals, making them adjust their positions for threats that aren't there. The military leaders watched as Imperial ships made slight moves to avoid invisible dangers. Their perfect systems were being fooled by simple tricks. Remember, Wilson said, we don't need to destroy them. We just need to confuse them. And humans are very good at causing confusion. As the meeting ended, the leaders headed out to prepare their forces for the final battle. Earth's submarines were being fitted with the new devices. Surface ships were being equipped with both old and new technology, ready to show the Empire one last surprise. Think it'll work? Mark asked Anna as they packed up their equipment. They're expecting a primitive species to fight like they do, she replied. Instead, they're getting something their computers can't understand. Human creativity mixed with their own technology. She smiled. They won't know what hit them. The stage was set for the final battle. Earth had learned the Empire's weaknesses, and now they had the tools to exploit them. All they needed was one more victory to secure humanity's freedom. And this time, they had more than just courage on their side. They had science, Earth-style. The Pacific Ocean lay calm under the morning sun. Above, 5 massive Imperial ships hovered, their weapons ready. Below the waves, 30 Earth submarines waited silently, carrying both torpedoes and Dr. Anna's new devices. Commander Marcus's voice boomed across the water. This ends today. No more tricks. No more primitive surprises. Submit to the Empire's power. Admiral Wilson stood on the bridge of Earth's lead carrier, watching the radar screens. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. All submarines check in, he ordered softly. One by one, the subs reported ready. Each carried special sound devices that would confuse the Imperial ship's sensors. But first, they needed the enemy to come closer. Sir, the radar operator said, they're launching their underwater fighters. The Imperial ships released hundreds of sleek underwater vehicles. They looked like metal fish, each one more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. Their commanders watched proudly as their perfect formation descended into the ocean. That's when Earth sprung its trap. Now, Wilson ordered, activate the ghost signals. Deep underwater, Earth's submarines switched on Anna's devices. Suddenly, the Imperial sensors went crazy. Their screens showed thousands of targets instead of just 30. What's happening? Commander Marcus demanded. Where are they all coming from? Multiple contacts, his officers reported. Can't tell which signals are real. The Imperial underwater fighters broke formation, their computers unable to tell real targets from fake ones. That's when Earth's submarines attacked, not with advanced weapons, but with simple nets and cables. Nets. Marcus laughed when he heard. You fight our advanced fighters with fishing nets. Yes, Wilson replied calmly. Because sometimes the old ways work best. The nets, made stronger with pieces of Imperial metal, tangled the enemy fighters. Their perfect engines, designed for straight-line speed, couldn't handle being wrapped up. Dozens of Imperial fighters floated helplessly in the ocean. But the Empire wasn't done. Their ships started firing energy beams into the water. They took the bait, Wilson said. Phase 2. Earth's surface ships moved forward. They looked old and weak compared to the Imperial vessels, but they carried special panels made from captured Imperial technology. Panels that didn't block energy beams, but reflected them. The Empire's energy weapons hit the ships and bounced back, multiplied by the water's surface. Beams of light shot in all directions, creating chaos among the Imperial fleet. Impossible, Marcus shouted. You're using our own weapons against us. We're using everything against you, Wilson replied. That's how humans fight. The submarines surfaced in a perfect circle around the Imperial ships. Each one activated a different signal device. The Empire's advanced sensors were overwhelmed, showing threats everywhere, and nowhere. Their targeting systems are failing, Anna reported from her station. They can't lock onto anything. The Imperial ships started firing randomly, trying to hit enemies they couldn't properly see. But every shot was either dodged or reflected back. Their perfect formation broke apart as each ship tried to handle the chaos in its own way. You dare use our technology like this? Marcus raged. This isn't proper combat. No, Wilson agreed. This is human combat. We take what works and make it work better. We adapt. We improvise. And most importantly, he paused as the submarines launched their final attack. We never fight fair when we're fighting for our home. Regular torpedoes, guided by simple sonar, struck the Imperial ships where Anna's team had identified weak spots. 2 ships lost power immediately. A third spun out of control, its sensors completely overwhelmed. Commander Marcus watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. Their advanced technology, confused by simple tricks and turned against them, had become their weakness instead of their strength. Retreat, he finally ordered. Full retreat. The remaining Imperial ships lifted off, leaving their trapped underwater fighters behind. As they disappeared into space, cheers erupted from every Earth vessel. Admiral Wilson looked at the celebrating crews around him. Send the message, he ordered. A simple radio signal, using old-fashioned Morse code, beamed into space. Earth wins. 3 battles, 3 victories. We stay free. The Empire had finally learned its lesson. Advanced technology wasn't everything. Sometimes the best solutions were the simple ones. And humans? Humans were masters of finding simple solutions to impossible problems. Earth had won its freedom. But more importantly, they had won the Empire's respect. And it all happened because they dared to fight back when the galaxy thought they were too primitive to win. 1 month after Earth's victory in the Pacific Ocean, a different kind of Imperial ship appeared in orbit. This one wasn't a warship, it was a diplomatic vessel. Commander Marcus stood in the United Nations building in New York. But this time he wasn't making threats. His perfect face showed something new. Respect. In 10,000 years, he said to the gathered world leaders, no planet has ever won the ancient rights of combat against the Empire. But you did more than win. You taught us something we had forgotten. Admiral Wilson sat with his team. Dr. Anna Brown, Captain Jack, Colonel Bill, and others who had helped Earth win its freedom. They had proven that humanity's so-called primitive ways were actually their greatest strength. The Empire offers Earth full recognition as a free world, Marcus announced. More than that, we offer partnership. Other worlds want to know how you defeated our technology. They want to learn from you. Learn from primitives, someone asked with a smile. Marcus shook his head. You were never primitive. We were wrong. Your ways are different, but they work. Sometimes. He looked embarrassed. Sometimes they work better than ours. The Earth leaders looked at each other. This was more than just victory. This was a chance to join the galaxy on their own terms. There's more, Marcus continued. 3 other worlds have challenged the Empire, inspired by Earth's victory. They want to be free too. He paused. We would like Earth's help in handling these challenges peacefully. President Johnson stood up. You want us to be peacekeepers. We want you to be teachers, Marcus corrected. The Empire has relied too much on advanced technology. We forgot about creativity, adaptation, and using simple solutions. You can help us remember. Dr. Anna raised her hand. And what about technology sharing? Equal exchange, Marcus replied. We learn your ways, you learn ours. Together, we find the best path forward. The agreement was signed that afternoon. Earth would remain free, becoming part of a new galactic council where all worlds had equal voice. The Empire would change, becoming less rigid, more open to different ways of thinking. A week later, Admiral Wilson stood at the New Earth Space Academy, speaking to the first class of cadets. Young people from every country were there, ready to join humanity's journey to the stars. "Remember what won us our freedom," he told them. "Not fancy technology, not powerful weapons, but human creativity, courage, and the ability to think differently. The galaxy needs these qualities." In her lab, Dr. Anna worked with both human and imperial scientists, combining their knowledge in new ways. "Sometimes the best solution is advanced technology," she explained to her team. "Sometimes it's a simple pulley and lever. True wisdom is knowing which to use." The Empire changed too. Their ships now carried backup manual controls. Their soldiers learned to adapt to different environments. They studied Earth's military history, learning how creativity could beat superior force. 1 year after the battles, Earth launched its first faster-than-light ship. It wasn't a copy of Imperial technology. Instead, it was something new, a combination of Earth's practical engineering and Imperial science. Simple but effective, just like humanity itself. "You know what the best part is?" Captain Jack said as he prepared to pilot the new ship. "We did it our way. We didn't have to become like them to win their respect." Commander Marcus, now Earth's main contact with the Empire, stood watching the ship's launch. "I was wrong about humans," he told Wilson. "You weren't behind us in development. You were on a different path. Maybe a better one." Wilson smiled as the new ship rose into the sky. "Not better, just different. And that's the real lesson here. The galaxy is big enough for many ways of thinking, many paths forward." Across the stars, other worlds watched and learned. They saw how Earth had won its freedom not through overwhelming force, but through creativity and determination. The age of rigid imperial rule was ending. A new age of diversity and innovation was beginning. And it all started because one primitive planet refused to give up, refused to surrender, and proved that being different wasn't a weakness. It was a strength that could change the galaxy. Earth had not only won its freedom, it had won its place among the stars.